Hey guys, welcome to the channel. I'm High Voltage, and in today's video I'm going to be doing an absolute beginner's guide to making your first custom patch on the KORG Prologue and how to save it so when you're done you can come back to it. Okay, so here's the synth. You can do however you want, but the easiest way is to start from the left and work your way over to the right. Okay, so in the absolute very first section of the synthesizer we have octave control, we have the pitch wheel and the modulation wheel. Also, we have master volume, portamento, and voice mode depth. Modulation can be tied to pretty much anything. Voice mode depth is controlled to what voice mode you're in. That basically just changes how it sounds if you're in polyphonic mode, monophonic, unison, or chord mode. Section next to that is where you're going to basically choose the building blocks of your sound. We have voltage control oscillator 1, 2, and a multi-engine. We're going to forget about the multi-engine for today's video. I'll do a separate video on that. We have the voltage controlled oscillators. So you can choose the waveform over here. You can change the octave, you can change the pitch, and the shape. So let's say we want to make a new sound. Let's say we select square, say we don't touch the pitch and leave the shape alone. That'll sound like this. We go to the mixer over here, which is just the volumes. Like if I half that, it's not as loud as before, and that applies to VCO2 and the multi. Let's add VCO2 in, and we can select a different waveform. Let's go with sawtooth wave, and then now we have two waveforms running at the same time. So it has a different sound to it. You can change the octave of each of them individually. You can also change the pitch, which is weird. So once you've gone through that section, basically the next section is the filter section. So we have resonance, drive, low cut, key track, the cutoff knob itself. This synthesizer is a 12 dB low pass filter, and we have EG intensity, or envelope generator intensity. So that would be tied to the EG, which is over here. Now that we're in the filter section, we can shape our sound further from there. So this sounds a little buzzy to me. Say we don't want it like that, we can adjust the cutoff, which will dull the sound. It just leaves the low and removes the high. That's why it's called a low pass filter. Now we can add some resonance to that to make it more interesting. We can add some drive to that to make it more harsh. Over here we have amp EG, EG, and LFO. Right now, let's just add just a basic ADSR for the sound. Right now, sustain level at 100%, it goes straight to that, and as soon as I take my finger off the keyboard, it releases. I can add attack to that, so it kind of sweeps into the sound. I can add decay, which is how long it takes for that sound to go back to the sustain level. If I change the sustain level, it'll come up and then decay back to a sustain level. And then if I add some release to that, that's how long it takes once my finger is off the keys for it to go back to no sound at all. Let's take a look at the EG. You can turn the EG intensity all the way to 100%, add some attack, add some decay, give it some sustain and release. So that does a filter sweep for you. The farther down you move the cutoff, the more it's gonna sweep. So on the LFO here, we have wave, mode, rate, intensity, and the target. So the wave is basically the shape the LFO will use. So we have sawtooth, triangle, and square. The mode is basically how fast or slow the LFO will work. So there's beats per minute, slow and fast. The rate, which is a more precise control on the mode. And then intensity is how much the LFO will modulate something. The target will target what the LFO is actually going to control. Okay, let's say we want to modulate the cutoff. First, we would start by selecting a waveform. Doesn't matter what order you do it in, but I would select a waveform, which is what it will travel as. So if we select square wave, it'll basically be on, off with the filter or the cutoff. Then I'd select slow or BPM usually. Let's go with BPM. We can change the rate so we can have it like every second or something like that. And then intensity is how much it's going to move the filter. And then we'd select cutoff to change the filter, and that will sound like this. On, off, right? And you can speed that up with the rate. Now we can have it a quarter. Now if you select triangle, it sweeps instead of on, off. Sawtooth wave's really interesting because it's basically a combination of a square wave and a triangle wave. It's on and then sweeps down and then it's back on, so that's how that works. You can modulate the shape on something, and you can also modulate the pitch. Okay, so you have your custom patch built. You like it. You want to save it. Super simple. You just press right, and then you press it again, and it will save your patch. It's complete. Now it's saved. Thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Blah, 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 blah. Every YouTuber says it, but I'll say it anyway. I'm thinking about doing a series because this tutorial just scratched the absolute surface of this synthesizer. If you want to see any of those videos, let me know. Leave a comment. And yeah, stay tuned. I'll be uploading soon. Alright, take one. I hope